It began in Chichester, went to the Hampstead Theatre in North London, and is now in the West End at the Playhouse Theatre. The play was written by Tony Kushner and the music by Janine Tesori. And Caroline is the maid in a Jewish household in Louisiana in the 1960s. It was a time of great change as the civil rights movement began to gather pace. The song Lot's Wife appears towards the end of the production when Caroline quits her job.
Well, sure, it true, it be that way, but not for me is also true. You all can't do what I can do. You're strong, but you ain't strong like me. I'm gonna slam that iron down on my throat, gonna slam that iron down on my heart, gonna slam that iron down on my sex, gonna slam it, slam it, slam it down till I drown the fire out, till there ain't no air left anywhere. What else? What else? What else? What else, God? What else, God? Give me an answer. Slammed on the iron, slammed on the iron.
Sharon D, Clarke, what a voice. My God, night after night you do that.
8 shows a week.
The music is terrific, isn't it?
The music is absolutely amazing. It's such a joy to be a part of that sound, you know. Janine has written everything. There's klezmer, there's work songs, there's Motown, there's classical. I mean, and each character has a kind of theme, even if as an audience you don't realise it, but it's just there chugging away underneath. I think the music is just genius, absolute genius, and a pleasure to sing.
How complex a character is she to play? You know, she's there in the basement of this house doing all the work as a maid. She's a single parent, grieving. She's angry. She's depressed.
Yeah, she's got a lot on her plate. She has a lot on her plate, but she, it's all there on the page and in the music. I mean, I think Caroline's emotional roadmap is just so fantastically written that I don't feel that I have to dig deep to find her, because she's just there living on the top of the page so beautifully. And she's basically dealing with loss, she's dealing with grief, she's dealing with bereavement, she's dealing with the loss of love. You know, she's lost her husband, her son is now at war in the same situation that her husband was in. And you know, you have a mother there going, I saw what happened to my husband, I saw what the war did to him. Will this war do that to my son? Am I going to lose another male in my family in that way? And then, you know, she's a black woman in the 60s trying to bring up the 3 kids that she has on $30 a week, which is
her
hard.
daughter and her best friend are inspired by the civil rights movement, but Caroline almost seems to disapprove of it. Why?
It's not that she's disapproving. I think she doesn't see a way out for herself. Dottie, who is her best friend, as you've mentioned, is going to college. Dottie doesn't have any kids. Dottie doesn't have that responsibility, so she can afford to spend her money elsewhere and do other things. Caroline has got 3 kids to look after and a son at war that she wants to make sure gets a little package of cookies, or, do you know what I mean, little treats. And she can't read. So for her, going to college doesn't seem to be an option. She can't go to college if she can't read. She hasn't been to school, never mind having a further education. And, you know, the things that Dottie's aspiring to are things that she cannot aspire to. Her aspirations have to go to her kids. And I think she's a proud mother watching that her daughter is so outspoken and so driven. But at the same time, she comes from an old guard where if black folk spoke out, they could be lynched. So she wants to try and protect her daughter as well. You know, she's stuck in that middle where for her, there isn't really going to be a progression forward. But for the next generation, yes.
She has imaginary friends who bring some fun and light relief into the show. I absolutely loved the washing machine.
The washing machine. Misha Bryan is stealing the show from under me with her washing machine, and it's an absolute joy.
So how would you describe all of her imaginary friends then?
I don't see them as her imaginary friends. I see them as facets of her. So I see them as her head, her heart, her sexual repression, her anger, her joy. They kind of allude you to the things that are going on in Caroline's mind that she can't tell you.
There's the radio, the washing machine,
the radio, the washing
dryer
machine, and the
that she
dryer.
hates.
The washing machine. We have a backstory in the show that Betty, who is Stuart's wife, who's passed away, Noah's mum. We have said that the washing machine was Betty's last present to Caroline when she knew that she was dying. She's a brand new 7-cycle, top of the range washing machine. This is a gift that would help Caroline in her job and alleviate a lot of her pressures in her job. And so that tells you something about Caroline and Betty's relationship, that they were good friends. You know, Betty would come down to the basement and they'd have a cigarette, and this is a present that she's left her. So the washing machine is her friend. Her washing machine is her emotional heart and the person who tries to uplift her at all times. The radio is kind of this force that brings news from the outside and tells what's happening in the outside world, and will belittle her, will admonish her, will say, come on girl, pick yourself up. It gives her kind of hard, tough love. The dryer for me is all her sexual repression, her anger. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's quite good looking, right?
And he's quite fine, he's Echo Mitchell. But also, she's working with a dryer in a basement in Louisiana. The dryer, when the dryer comes on in that basement, her life becomes hell. It's already hot. And once the dryer's on, it takes everything to a whole new level. And so he just cramps down on her in that way. You know, makes her world small and hot and makes it a living hell. And those are relationships with her.
Sharon D. Clarke, thank you very much for being with
Thank
us. And I
you.
will just mention that Caroline or Change continues in London at the Playhouse Theatre until the 6th of April. Thank you.
Yes, do come
very
along.
much indeed.
Thank you.
That's how she tells.